An interesting topic for this video, the myth of modernity. Is modernity a myth? Obviously it's not, because here I am producing this video for release on YouTube. Everything to do with this is an attribute of the modern world. So the myth with modernity is not that modernity doesn't exist. The myth is that modernity does not exist on its own, and that it actually is manifesting in this world in combination with medievalism. And in fact, as I'm going to show you in this video, I'm going to make the claim that the influence of medievalism upon the modern world is greater than the effect of all the scientific and social and political advances that have occurred in the modern world to date since the arrival of the age of Aquarius in the 15th century. So here what I've got is the Pisces epoch. Now the Pisces epoch is actually the combination of the Pisces age from 732 BC to 1433 AD in the 15th century, and then the Pisces age overflows into the Aquarius age, and it's called the Pisces age overflow. This period here can also be called the Pisces Aquarius age, and of course it is the age of Aquarius as well. But anyway, the Pisces age and the Pisces age overflow create the Pisces epoch that runs from 732 BC to the year 3574. And even though the Pisces epoch finishes in 3574, the influence of Pisces does not finish at that point. It continues to straggle on like a flag waving in the breeze. It is still floating around, but when it comes to the year, around the year 4300, which is 2,300 years from now basically, it will hit the Capricorn age, and the first age decan in the Capricorn age is the Virgo age decan, and if you're an astrologer you'll be aware that Virgo is opposite to Pisces. So when the Pisces momentum hits the Virgo age decan, especially its peak around 4,300, Virgo is going to say stop. Do not let Pisces go past this point. Now, you may think that, well, how could a little age decan stop an age? But you have to realize, by this point, Pisces is not really got the full impetus of the age behind it. It's already occurred. It's already risen and overflowed, and it's just really the remnant influence. But still, Pisces will continue to strongly manifest in this 720 odd years. So really we have a very long time period here from 732 BC to 4,300, over 5,000 years, which defines a time frame where Pisces is pumping. And if we look at where we are now in 2019, basically what it's saying is that 55% of what Pisces is going to do to the world has already occurred, and 45% is still yet to manifest. In other words, Pisces is still going to be developing Pisces archetypes in the world. So therefore you can expect Hollywood to produce better movies. You can expect that Pisces ruled USA has got a long time frame ahead of itself in one way or another. In comparison to the influence of Pisces, where 55% is manifested and 45% is yet to manifest, let's examine the age of Aquarius, or to be more accurate in this example, the Aquarius epoch. So there it is, there's the Aquarius age from 1433 to 3574, and then it overflows into the age of Capricorn, into what I also call the Aquarian age overflow, and that takes us to 5697, and then its momentum continues on, as with the Pisces epoch. It continues on till around about 6420, when it hits the peak of the first age decan in the Sagittarius age, which is the Leo age decan. And this Leo age decan will say to Aquarius, "Stop, thou shalt not pass," drawing from Lord of the Rings. But now let's examine our place in the Aquarius epoch plus lingering effect. Is that we have experienced 11% of what Aquarius has got to offer us in this time frame, and 89% is yet to manifest. So you can see that just on a very simplistic level, there's a big difference between the influence from the Pisces epoch compared to the influence from the Aquarius epoch. Aquarius has just had a very short time frame since the 15th century to manifest, and what I'm claiming is that it has certainly manifested. I mean, we've seen it now. Look at all the scientific advances, look at all the uses of electricity, computers, the internet, IT, air travel, and then also the greatest appearance to date of democracy of various forms, even if our level of democracy in future millennia will be considered primitive, just like we would look back on the democracy of ancient Greece as being primitive, but still with some democratic overtones. So on a very simplistic level, Pisces has made a much bigger impact in the world to date compared to Aquarius. And I am claiming that even right now, that even though we can clearly see modernity as a very tangible thing, it's much harder to see Pisces because it's more to do with deception and illusion and delusion. And let's look at one little example. One example of Pisces manifesting is corporations. Corporations are primarily ruled by Pisces because corporation means corporate body. A corporation is a fake body. It does not exist. There is no body. It's a figment of imagination that humans have created on paper that makes a corporation a corporation. So when we think of Google and Facebook and AT&T or any corporation in the world, we think of it as a kind of a body, a living sort of entity, when it's not. It's a fake body. And so corporations started to appear at this time frame, which is actually the peak of Pisces, if I went back to my previous screen. And corporations are a good example of the manifestation of Pisces, and it tells you that corporations have got a long, long time frame ahead of them. But what I'm going to also show you is a different way of looking at this combination of Pisces and Aquarius. I mean, Pisces has got to do with belief systems. Pisces has got to do with medievalism. It was the primary structure in society before the advent of modernity in the 15th century. So when you think back at those feudal times or the Middle Ages, you have a sort of perception of what that reality was. And even though on a technological level, we have replaced that reality with all our modern gadgets and things, what I'm saying is that on a social political level, that is still the dominant mindset. And even in the world of science and academia, Pisces clearly manifests, which is why they reject astrology. Astrology is not rejected by academia based on the scientific evidence. It's based on the fact that science rejects astrology as a belief system. And this belief system therefore prevents them looking objectively at astrology, because it can't be true, because it goes against their belief system. And this is a classic example of how Pisces is so dominant in academia. And it really applies everywhere, to politics, to society. It's such a strong influence. But here, let's have a little look graphically at the interface of the Pisces epoch with the Aquarius epoch, so we can sort of see what is happening. So here, in 732 BC, the Pisces age starts, which is also the commencement of the Pisces epoch, and it rises up like a sine wave or half a sine wave, to its end in 1433, and then washes over the new Aquarius age. The new Aquarius age comes in here, goes up to its end in 3574, and then washes over the Capricorn age. And then the Capricorn age does the same, and then I haven't shown here, but there's the Sagittarius age could go here, and in the same way that the Aries age could go there. And the interesting influence about this Aries age is, if you look at this closely, you will realize that we are still under the vestige influence of the Aries age. And that is why we've still got the world with enough nuclear weapons to blow us off to smithereens. This absurd situation with war and conflict in the world still exists because mainly from a combination of the Aries age overflow mixing up with the end of Pisces. A fairly disastrous mix for world affairs. What I'm going to do is introduce to you the staging mechanism that applies not only to the astrological ages, but basically any 12-fold division. So this can be applied to ages, it can be applied to sub-ages of about 180 years each, it can be applied to micro-ages, which are about 15 years, and it can even be applied to nano-ages that are only about 15 months. But here we have is that we see here's the Pisces epoch interfaces with the Aquarius epoch, which interfaces with the Capricorn epoch. But what happens is that these two waves cross right at the midway point of an age. So at this point here, the age of Aquarius is now ceasing to be the new kid on the block. It is now of equal strength, theoretically, to the lingering influence from the Pisces age overflow. And this occurs in around 2503, about 500 years in the future. Then as the Aquarius epoch continues, the rising Capricorn epoch from beginning in 3574, it rises up as the new kid on the block. So the Capricorn epoch starts in 3574 and rises up and has the same intersection here with the previous age, in this time, the Aquarius epoch. And this happens around 4600. And so what this means is that Aquarius arrives as the Aquarius age here, concludes with the Aquarius age overflow in 5697, but because of the interface with the previous Pisces age overflow and the new Capricorn age, it creates a four-stage structure. Stage one, where it's arrived and it's a new kid on the block, and it goes through, basically 1100 years odd gestation period. Then it crosses and it goes into stage two, where it is far more powerful. Stage two is a far more powerful stage than stage one, but the most powerful stage is stage three. Decades of research has definitely shown to me that the manifestation of any age, sub-age, micro-age, nano-age, etc., or age decan and sub-age decan, the strongest manifestation is when it gets to its end and it's peaking, and then its next quarter of the whole epoch is where it is its strongest manifestation. So this is where Aquarius is really going to be pumping. And if we link Aquarius with modernity, this is indicating that the greatest level of modernity, or you could say the greatest manifestation of Aquarius archetypes, is going to occur in the time 3574 to 4600. So we're not going to see that, and it's hard to imagine what it is. But what it does, it means that where we are now, we're in what you would call the kindergarten stage of the age of Aquarius, or the kindergarten stage of the Aquarius epoch. So when we're here in stage one, this is actually also stage three of Pisces. This 1100 years is stage three of the Pisces epoch, and is the strongest 1100 years for the manifestation of Pisces archetypes in the world. in the whole 26,000 years cycle of the astrological ages. And this is why I'm saying here that we actually are living in a Pisces world with Aquarius inroads. So we see the Aquarius inroads so clearly, as I said before, with aircraft and with the democracy and with IT and computers and internet and technology. It's all very clear just because even I'm doing this video for you on YouTube. This is all Aquarius. This is all Aquarius modernity. But the Pisces influence is far more nebulous to discern because Pisces rules nebulous. Pisces is ill-defined. Pisces is hard to see. Pisces is smoke and mirrors. But if you watch the news every night or read the paper or watch your news on your smart device, you must get a bit dismayed by the level of events and political events and social actions around the world as so much primitive and atavistic approaches to policy are constantly pushed towards the general public by politicians and movers and shakers. And I mean, I should really do a video on its own just on the manifestation of Pisces archetypes. But one classic one is that all of a sudden, a month or two ago, the Australian Heart Foundation, after decades and decades and decades of saying, do not eat fat, fat is bad for your heart, fat is bad for you, have totally changed their mind. All of a sudden, they're recommending do not have low-fat products. Because what happened was there was never any credible research done in the 50s or 60s or wherever the research was done. There was no credible research done to actually say that fat was destructive for your health. It was a smoke and mirrors exercise and from memory basically aligned to the American pharmaceutical companies, and pharmaceutical companies are double Pisces. Pisces, of course, they're companies, and pharmaceuticals are Pisces. But as we all know, companies cannot help but lie. It's part of their Pisces archetype. It's not that they necessarily lie maliciously, they just can't help themselves. They are a lying, dishonest, falsehood machine, and they will be truthful and honest when required, but never at one point more. The Australian Heart Foundation all of a sudden said, don't take low-fat products, take fat as just part of your normal diet. And what is also very interesting is that most of those low-fat products you see at the supermarket, when you go reading the label, you will notice they have a lot more sugar in them compared to the full-fat products. Because this is to compensate for the lack of fat. But what all the recent research is showing is that sugar is the chronic epidemic of our age. It's the disaster zone. And this downplaying of sugar since the 1950s and this elevation as fat as the demon is a classic example of medievalism in the medical profession. Now, as a final insight into the mechanics of the astrological ages and epochs, when we look at this stage structure for, say, the current Aquarius epoch, stage 1, which we're in, then stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, this point here, where Aquarius is on the dominant or upper reaches of the sine wave or half sine wave, I call the Aquarius quasi-age. This here, where we're in now, is the Pisces quasi-age. So we are in the Pisces quasi-age. We will enter the Aquarius quasi-age around the year 2503, and then that will last till about 4600, and then it's going to go into the Capricorn quasi-age. And a quasi-age is interesting on two levels. First of all, it reflects that time where the energy of the zodiacal sign concerned is at its maximum, even though the second half is more powerful than the first half. And also, as an interesting point, when you look at these quasi-ages, they actually align with the traditional application of the vernal point at the vernal equinox to the sidereal zodiac to determine the calibration of the ages. This was the system that Hipparchus invented about 125 BC. But while that system is wrong, and while everyone is saying, oh, look, if you look at the astronomy, the age of Aquarius shouldn't be happening until hundreds of years from now, it just so happens that an Aquarius period is going to arrive at hundreds of years from now, called the Aquarius quasi-age. But still, the age of Aquarius arrived in 1433. And you can sort of take this 1100 years as a 1100 years drawn out introduction and preparation for the Aquarius quasi-age. In the Aquarius quasi-age, we are bound to experience far more modernity than our current age of techno-medievalism. So in conclusion, here we are, We are in the strongest 1100 years of Pisces to manifest in the world. And so, if you want to look for Pisces, even though it's harder to find due to its archetypal nature than Aquarius, you will find it everywhere. And probably the easiest way to see that is that the three great Pisces religions formed in the Pisces age, Buddhism, Islam and Christianity. And Pisces, the power of Pisces can be seen is that those three religions are still holding an enormous impact on the world. Less so Christianity, because the inroads that Aquarius modernity has made in Western society is far greater than it has in the second and third world countries. And there's a very good reason for this, is that ages and all periods behave like the bow of a boat. The bow of the boat is cutting through the water and it's sending off a wake. And each age and period seems to specialise on a specific part of the world. And since the arrival of the age of Aquarius in 1433, which is really since the arrival of the Pisces Aquarius age, Western society was given at least the initial impetus or the initial dose of Aquarius and Pisces pumping at full speed in the world. And so Western society is at the front of the boat, but the wake goes back, and it takes a while to get to second world countries and third world countries as a general rule. So we can't expect that the ages are uniform throughout the whole world. They always seem to pick a particular region or country or nation and then expand from there. For example, in the Gemini age or the Gemini epoch, it really focused on Mesopotamia. For the Taurus epoch, it really focused on ancient Egypt. For the Aries epoch, it focused on Greece, but then mainly the Roman Empire. And then in the Pisces epoch, it's focusing on Europe and America. And in fact, from the astrological perspective, Europe behaves like ancient Greece and America is behaving like ancient Rome. It's the same sort of coordination where it evolved from one into the other. And so we haven't yet got the Aquarius Empire or the Aquarius region, because we don't know where that's going to be, because it's going to be in this stage here where we're going to discover what part of the world or is going to be most affected by Aquarius and therefore be at the cutting edge of developments at that time. But in the meantime, Western society is at the cutting edge, but this doesn't in any way make Western society or people that belong to Western society superior to anyone else. That is Pisces logic. So in conclusion, we have myth from Pisces, we have modernity from Aquarius, and then we have medievalism that I'm actually saying is the dominant paradigm in the world today. And the myth isn't that modernity doesn't exist. The myth is that people aren't giving proper attention to our medieval society. And the correct way really to describe this time in history that we are in is that we live in the age of techno-medievalism. This is why we've got the ability to make atomic bombs and do all these things, yet here it is with all these presidents and leaders with their finger on the button that can send off atomic bombs around the world to blow us to smithereens. That is Pisces. That is Pisces through and through. And Greta Thunberg has her work cut out for her, because that's what she's basically fighting against, is this confusion, delusion of world leaders that are basically mowing through the resources of the world at an alarming rate and leaving what for her generation and future generations. There's one thing I can really tell you, is that in 500 years' time, or 1,000 years' time, when people look back at our time, they're going to be scratching their head and wondering why we were so primitive. And the reason we were so primitive is because we are primarily ruled by Pisces, which is an anti-intellectual sign. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and remember, I have a number of blogs in WordPress that you can go to if you want to see if you want to read my blog that I have derived this video from. The link to that will be shown below. Thank you very much.